Today's topic is menstrual cycle. Gamete formation in females, human females, it is a cyclic activity that is about 28 days and it involves changes in structure and function of entire reproductive system, and this is called menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle, it occurs in monkeys, apes, chimpanzee, and human beings also. The first menstruation, which begins at puberty, that is at the age of 10 to 12 years, this first menstruation is termed as menarche. And this menstrual cycle, it ceases or stops around the age of 50 years. It can be 45 to 50 or 50 to 55. Thus, stoppage of menstrual cycle, this is termed as menopause. Menstrual cycle, which occurs only in primates, that is monkeys, apes, and chimpanzee, and it lasts for 28 days, and the days are numbered from the first day of the blood flow. And the cycle consists of 3 phases. The 3 phases are follicular phase. Follicular phase is a proliferating phase. Proliferating means multiplying phase, and it lasts for 14 days. Second is the luteal phase. This phase is also known as secretory phase, which lasts for 10 days. And the third phase is the menstrual phase, or it is also called the bleeding phase, and it lasts about for 4 to 5 days. Now, let us begin with the first phase, that is the follicular phase. Follicular phase, it shows the following events. Anterior lobe of pituitary. Anterior lobe of pituitary, it secretes follicle stimulating hormone. From anterior lobe of pituitary is released follicle stimulating hormone. This follicle stimulating hormone, it stimulates, it performs the following functions. It stimulates the growth of ovarian follicles, which are present in the ovary at different stages of maturity. So, growth of the primary ovarian follicles, and it also involves the maturation of oocyte in the follicle. ग्राफियन फॉलिकल में फॉलिकल्स की ग्रोथ को, पूरे ग्राफियन फॉलिकल की ग्रोथ को कंट्रोल करता है, स्टिम्युलेट करता है, और ग्राफियन फॉलिकल में oocyte जो दैट इज द फ्यूचर एग सेल, उसकी मैच्योरेशन को स्टिम्युलेट करता है. दिस फॉलिकल स्टिम्युलेटिंग सेल, it also acts upon the follicle cells and stimulates them to secrete a hormone, that is estradiol or estrogen. This estrogen, now secretion of estrogen, it is the major female sex hormone. What are its functions? Number 1, it inhibits the secretion of FSH. जैसे FSH रिलीज हो रहा था, now FSH has stimulated the secretion of estrogen. Now this secretion of estrogen, it inhibits the secretion of FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and it stimulates the anterior lobe of pituitary to secrete another hormone, that is luteinizing hormone. Yani secretion of estrogen, it inhibits the secretion of follicle stimulating hormone from anterior lobe of pituitary, and it also stimulates the anterior lobe of pituitary कि अब इसको secrete करना बंद करें, and they from the anterior lobe that the luteinizing hormone should be secreted. Now this luteinizing hormone, it induces, what is its function? It induces ovulation. Ovulation means the ejection of egg from the ovary into the fallopian tube. Means release of egg from the ovary into the fallopian tube is induced by the luteinizing hormone, and this process occurs at about 14th day of the menstrual cycle, or it can be 12 to the 16 days. But in a perfect or a regular periodic menstrual cycle, it is the 14th day. Now estrogen, it also acts upon uterus, and it prepares the uterus for implantation. How it prepares the uterus for implantation? That the thickness of myometrium, uterus की 3 layers थी, endometrium, myometrium and the perimetrium. So the thickness of the middle layers and the inner layer, that is myometrium and endometrium. The myometrium, which was made up of smooth muscle fibers, smooth muscle layer, or the endometrium, there is proliferation in the epithelial lining, means thickness of the 2 layers of uterus, that is myometrium and endometrium, increases. The blood vessels which are present in the wall of uterus, they elongate, their length increases, and ultimately they get coiled. Blood vessels, they elongate and they get coiled, and there is gland development in the wall of the uterus. Glands, they develop, which secrete a nutritive fluid in the uterine cavity, in the cavity of uterus. And this estrogen, this also, it helps in increasing the thickness of lining of fallopian tube. So let us see the first phase, the follicular phase. Follicular phase में क्या होता है? The first phase, anterior lobe of pituitary, it secretes a hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. This follicle stimulating hormone, it stimulates the growth of ovarian follicle, and it also stimulates maturation of oocyte in the ovarian follicle. This is the oocyte. There are present, this is the mature Graafian follicle, this is the cavity antrum of the mature follicle, this is the oocyte, and there are present the follicular cells. So the FSH, it stimulates the growth of whole ovarian follicle and maturation of the oocyte, and this FSH, it also acts upon the follicle cells and stimulates them to secrete estrogen. अब ये एस्ट्रोजन कहाँ कहाँ एक्ट करता है? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इट इनहिबिट्स द सिक्रीशन ऑफ FSH and it stimulates the anterior lobe of pituitary to release luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone, it induces ovulation, that is release of egg from the ovary into the fallopian tube at the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. Estrogen also stimulates the uterus and prepares the uterus for implantation. How? By increasing the thickness of smooth muscles in myometrium and epithelial lining in the endometrium. The blood vessels present in the wall of uterus, they elongate and they get coiled. Glandular tissue also develop in the wall of the uterus, which secrete nutritive fluid in the wall of uterine cavity. And estrogen also stimulates to increase in uh, thickness in the lining of fallopian tube.